I look really cool right there. No, I don't. Hey, welcome back to Frank's Model Works. I'm Frank. Dave over at Woody's Scale Model Garage posed a community question. And you know me, I'm very reserved and don't like to talk very much. I'd love to answer a question. I do, especially if it's something that I can provide some background on or give context for the way that I am. And the way that I am. Wow. Way to start. But Dave's question is specifically, how did you get started in modeling or in your interest in cars or whatever the case may be? And I've actually touched on this subject on numerous occasions. Mostly when I've been on podcasts, people ask, it's one of the main questions that people ask when you're on a podcast, is what got you started. And I also did an introductory video to the channel where I told my story. But I didn't want to let the opportunity go by and not answer Dave's question, because Dave is actually a very, very close friend of mine. Dave, if you know Dave, he might seem, if you watch his channel, he might seem gruff, but he's actually all heart. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met. And I want to make sure, because I just looked at his channel, he's at 993 subscribers as I'm recording this. This is Sunday, December 22nd that I'm recording this. All I want for Christmas is for Dave to reach 1,000 subscribers by Christmas, December 25th. And I'm pretty sure we can make that happen. But I want to give my answer to Dave's question, because I think the important part, and I'm going to link to Dave's video asking this question in the description. Dave got emotional talking about what got him started, and you could tell that Dave had a very tight, close connection with his brothers who have passed away. And I don't like seeing my friends upset, especially around the holidays. And I realize that, as you get older, you start to lose the people that were in the house that you grew up in. And that, some people are much younger when this happens, but once you start getting to being like my age, it starts to happen more and more. And it gets really tough around the holidays. Especially if the holidays were a big part of the tradition in your house. It was so in mine. But to answer the question, who got me involved? Well, the answer to that question, there's a couple of them. My aunt's ex-husband, my uncle, Joe, he was a big Mopar guy, and him and his brother Robert built model cars. So I was about maybe 5 or 6 years old. He used to give me, like his I guess they would be like rebuilders now, but some of them were actually very nice. And being a 6-year-old kid, I just immediately started playing with them and breaking them. And I to this day, I feel horrible, because I know one of them was a Fury. I know it was, one of them was like that really rare Johan Fury kit. I do feel bad about that. And Joe, my Uncle Joe, I haven't seen him in almost 40 years, but he actually is the person who got me involved in cars, and I guess gave me my first introduction to models, although I didn't build my first model as a result of him. That was actually the spot taken up by my father. Now, my dad I've told this story. My dad took me up to the local hobby shop, which was half hardware store, half hobby shop. It was called Nag and Gast, and it was on Fresh Pond Road in Reachwood, New York, where I grew up. And that hobby shop, it was like a full service, really packed. They had everything. They had control line, radio control, cars, planes. They were one of the, I think, the first U.S. distributor of Markland trains. Not going to be sure about that, but I know that they had an entire display case. of Markland trains. Back then, the locomotives were like $400-$500. I'm talking the early '80s. So I can only imagine what those things go for now. They're probably ridiculous. I get it. It was a great hobby store. So my dad takes me up there and he buys me a Monogram 148 scale ME 109. Now, since I got into planes, I realized they weren't called ME 109s. They were BF 109s. But I didn't know that then. And we go home, I put the model together. I used so much glue that plane is probably somewhere in the dump in Staten Island, still soft from the amount of glue that I used to put that together. And I would say that my love of aircraft came from my father, because not only did he buy me that first model, but he also used to bring me up to the library, the Ridgewood, the Borough of Queens Public Library, and we would read Aviation Weekly and Space Technology. And we'd read that magazine. He would bring me to the observation decks, if you can believe it. There used to be observation decks at the airports in New York City. LaGuardia had one. It was an actual dedicated observation deck. It said it was part of the main terminal. It closed probably the early 90s, I would say. As far as Kennedy goes, you used to be able to go onto like a rooftop parking for the Delta terminal, and you were so close to 747s, like they'd be pulling up to the terminal, and you'd almost be at eye level height looking at the pilots and like waving to the pilots. They're like, "Yeah, kid, I just flew this thing here from Spain. You mind if I park first before I wave back to you?" So I got the love of aviation from my father. I visited the Intrepid Sea and Air Museum when it was just open. My dad made sure he brought my sister and I over there. We went to the Cradle of Aviation Museum before it was even a museum. At the time, it was just still a hangar on what is now the Cradle of Aviation Museum in Nassau County, New York, is built on the grounds of the former Mitchell Field U.S. Air Force Base. That space is now occupied by Nassau County Community College, Nassau Coliseum, parts of Hofstra University, a bunch of office buildings, a hotel, and a sports complex for Nassau County. But the museum itself, before it actually opened as the Cradle of Aviation Museum, was just a hangar that had planes in it. The base itself was actually pretty cool. Up until I think maybe 1961, it was an active Air Force base. They flew C-119 flying boxcars out of there. I'll see if I could throw a picture up of one. I'll see if I could find like the aerial photo of the place. So we went to that museum when it first started. I had this thing about planes that I loved them when I was a kid, and I always liked cars as well, but my love as a kid was planes. And even though I did build model cars, I also built model planes as much, if not more at some points. And I got that love of aviation from my father. And it was one of those things, even to this day, if there's a plane flying overhead, I stop and I look. I look at it. And I used to amaze people at such a young age. I could just look at a plane and tell you, oh yeah, that's an A300, Eastern Airlines. It's going in on the expressway visual approach to runway 31 at LaGuardia. And I just knew that, and used to kid people, what the hell's wrong with that kid? There was a lot. But, so that's my answer to the question. And I realized that Dave got choked up because he got caught up in the emotions of the holiday season and the loss of his brothers. And I realized that it's tough this time of year, but it's good. It's good to talk about the good times and the things, because that's a gift that you're given by people that love you. You're a love of something that you carry with you your entire life. I actually built my first model car as a result of a gift from my godmother. My cousin had gotten it was a reissue of the MPC LA Dart that they came out with it. It had like the red one, the rear engine LA Dart, had the Hemi in the trunk. My aunt gave me that because it was given as a present to my cousin Steven, and he didn't want it. And I thought she was mad at me because that kid is awful. I hated building it. I asked my mother, is Aunt Terry mad at me? Because this is like punishment. So I didn't, it was a rough start with model cars, like building them myself rather than just dismantling the ones that my Uncle Joe gave me. But, you know, it gets tough this time of year to think about the past. Like I said, I haven't spoken to my Uncle Joe in probably 40 years when the marriage broke up. And my godmother is unfortunately suffering from dementia. I lost my parents. My mom passed away in 2009. My father passed away in 2013. And my sister passed away in 2014 at 43 years old. So, you know, this time of year is rough. But it's good to have the memories of the positive influences that people had on your life, regardless of the events that surrounded their exit from your life. And it's something that you have to do your best to remain positive about it. Think about the good things that you have, rather than the things that you've lost. And once you can do that, you're better off, and then you can approach things with a clearer head. So, Dave, you know I got your back, pal. Just like that guy Frizzo. So that's my answer to the community question. I'm going to get this out hopefully tonight. Just got to go get the pictures to show you what I was talking about of Mitchell Field. I do want to get Dave to 1,000 subscribers by Christmas. That's all I want for Christmas, folks. If you could do me that favor, I'll link to his channel in the description. So as always, I got Frizzo's back and I got Dave's back too. I appreciate your support now more than ever. I wish you a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year for you and your family. Whatever holidays you celebrate, I wish you peace and joy, surrounded by loved ones. Until we speak again, my friends, take care of yourselves and be well.